It's a museum only by name, not by what we do.
I would describe it as a space, self-initiated and originally squatted venue that then inhabited both the premises and the name. That is more of artist and curator run venue than a museum. A space that's also a party venue, get together, experience and a gardening project.
I would say it's the Contemporary Art Museum of Estonia, but it's not what you think. I think like the deception is partly built into it. I think you should think that maybe it's like a governmental institution, but when you get closer to it, then you understand that it's really not.
If someone has never visited that place before, try to put yourself into a concrete oasis, pretty much. And that's how I would describe by just looking at or being in the area of EKKM.
Like a philosophical concept of becoming something, that becoming can also be, a state of existing, that in a way becoming something is not the goal, but the becoming itself is the goal.
We are constantly looking and have to look even harder than we really are. The future, the goal, to constantly rephrase it as the time goes on, almost as if building or constructing the short-term and the long-term narrative, or the strategy, if you will, where we as art workers or art professionals here would like to see EKKM move, both as people working in the building, but also as much as it's even possible to be an objective onlooker to what is still missing or what the local contemporary art field needs.
There's this sort of an equilibrium of getting by for us here, because we understand that just actually investing into the building to really get it running is more than we can afford at the moment, so that's why we're working up to having the place renovated. But it's like owning a house, basically, doing that kind of stuff.
It's a boat that's partly like full of water. We constantly have to throw it out. There are all these urgent fires we have to put out also. So it means that this flexibility has always been here, and to this extent that it also balances this type of institutionalization that it's so it seems, and I mean it in the best sense possible, a bit of like a masquerade as well, that we are playing the part of a museum.
We aim not to commercialize, aim not to have too much economic activities that would kind of take our focus from more creative and critical activities. I think we are in a privileged position that we operate with public funds. Being an artist-run space is also a method of functioning, and it's not like a step below a proper institution or becoming a proper institution.
Something that we have kept here over the years is the free entry to the exhibitions, so that it would be an extension to the public space. An experience that you can have for free.
I think foremost come the people that we work with. That, in a way, the audience always, at least for me, comes second after the people we work with. I mean, that might sound a bit strange, but I think it's not, in a way that the focus is still put on the work.
I think for me, the main takeaway from a good exhibition is having a really happy and a grateful artist/curator. Artists winning praise or awards even for shows done here, so you see that what we have built here together as a team has spoken to so many people that is what kind of loops back to me professionally, that says to me in my head that what I'm doing works, I'm doing it right.
Although we don't have specifically curated themes for exhibition years as such, the whole package, these still are very relevant questions that both the curators and artists ask. So it still seems at the end that it came together as something that's somehow accidentally influenced by different topics that influence everybody on the planet Earth.
Siis kõigepealt fikseerime ära, et meil on praegu 2020. aastal detsembris, eks ole, kohe terve 10. saab läbi kohe, eks ole. Ja see tähendab ühtlasi seda, et EKKM saab kohe 15 aastat vanaks. 15 aastat on selline vanus, et puberteet hakkab juba läbi saama, eks ole. Ja algab see lihtsalt asjaolust, et minul, Marko Laimrel ja Neeme Külmal on ühine ateljee. Me oleme siis mõlemad kunstnikud, eks ole. Ja kõik algab siis sellest 2005. aasta siis mingisugusest hetkest. Neeme on pikalt ära Portugalis ja mina olen samal hetkel siis astumas Kunstiakadeemias fotograafiaprofessori ametikohale, eks. Me Neemega ei ole kumbki seda tüüpi kunstnikud, kes istuvad hommikust õhtuni ateljees ja joonistavad midagi, visandavad, et meil on vaja stuudioks, ma ei tea, 2 koormataid betooni, eks ole, ekskavaatoreid, keevitus, ühesõnaga meie kunstitöö on tihtipeale projektipõhine, enamasti ongi projektipõhine ja meil on vaja palju korraga, aga väikese aja jooksul. Siis see kõik, mis EKKM on, mis temast on saanud, mis ta on olnud vahepeal, sest ta ei ole ühtlane, algabki tegelikult töökojast, ehk siis algab tööriistadest. See on tegelikult ka, see on EKKM-i algus. Teisest küljest olin ma just nagu elanud siis või hakanud sisse elama professori rolli EKKAs. Ja see tõi kaasa kohe ka nagu teatavad vajadused, eks ole. EKKAs juhtkonna tasandil puudus arusaamine, mis on galerii või miks on seda vaja üldse koolil. Üldse olukord oli kummaline, ma ütleks, et isegi tume ja nutune Eesti kunstiväljal sel hetkel. Ehk siis, et 2006. aasta on väga tähelepanu ära selle poolest, et valmib ju Kumu. Nüüd Kumu läks maksma sel ajal Eesti Vabariigile, minule kui maksumaksjale 864 miljonit Eesti krooni, mis on nagu eurodes umbes 60 miljonit. Et on Kumu avamine, kõik on pompöösne ja siis käib selline retoorika, kuidas me kõik on 80 aastat seda oodanud ja nüüd me kõik koos ja see on ikkagi nagu ja ikkagi see 800 miljonit ja nii edasi, kõik see käib selline väntamine, mis minule kui jälle nagu, kuidas öelda siis, ikkagi sünnipärasele anarhistile käib väga pinda, et nagu mis jutt see on. Et kes on need meie esiteks ja üleüldse käib see kõik ja muidugi selgus üsna pea, et kunstnikke sinna ei oodata eriti. aasta 2006, eks ole. Praegult on seda raske ette kujutada, aga siin oli raudtee, eks ole, mida mööda liikusid narkarid ja pudelikorjad, eks ole. Ja siis oli siin see teine trajektoor, mida mööda siis mindi Soome laevale, mindi Helsingisse ja tuldi Helsingist. Madisel oli suur kemp võtmeid ja ta oli üksi siin ja loomulikult see ei ole võimalik. Ehk siis, et ilma ressurssideta ja ta lihtsalt nagu kutsus, et kas me ei sooviks, eks ole, siin midagi teha. Ja siis me siia tulimegi. 2007 suvel leidsin ühe Eesti krooni sellise metallist maast siit kuskilt ja siis andsin selle kunstnik Raul Kellerile. Ütlesin nii, et vaata Raul, ma ostan praegult sinult ühe töö ära EKKM-i kogusse, sest meil ei ole mitte ühtegi tööd praegu kogus. Ja pärast seda olime me põhimõtteliselt muuseum, selles mõttes, et sellele teosele oli juurdepääs nii palju kui ja oli avalik ja ta oli meil kollektsioonis. Meil oli orjatööjõud, meil oli pidevalt, mis on orjanduse puhul oluline. Mis on orjanduse puhul oluline? Oluline on see, et orjade juurde vool oleks pigem, kui sa nagu ära kulutad, et neil tuleks juurde. Meil oli EKA ja tudengid olemas. Selles mõttes ilma tudengiteta jällegi ei oleks me kahekesi mitte midagi suutnud.
Well, I'm among this lucky group of people who then, as a student, grew up in the space, cleaning and renovating it. Because then my professor was one of the 4 founding members. And then the department where I was in, the Department of Photography, within the Faculty of Fine Arts at the Estonian Academy of Arts, then we were almost like it's like the second family to the building. So it was late 2006, early 2007, that also we somehow inhabited the whole, the venue, the garden and so on. Again, for first the student exhibitions, some events, parties, whatever we thought was interesting at first. And then over the years it grew into something more prominent, more institutionalized.
You just gave a finger and then you realized it just keeps growing and changing the things you do here from starting as a student doing exhibitions, then just helping out later on because it was just so much fun. The crowd was so great. The things we were doing was just physically fun, so I did it for free, just helped out. Then it kind of grew into EKKM saying that, I have to pay you, man. Like it's getting out of hand. Then here I am, ready to take EKKM's spot, and poof, 12 years have gone by.
Well, one reason I kind of stuck around initially was as well the randomness of the work. For example, we had this exhibition called Corporal Punishment, and for that Jaanus Samma had an installation on the first floor upstairs that consisted of loads of nettles. So the space was filled with earth, and you had nettles growing. So you had to, go through a bush of nettles, or there was a path going into the second room where there was a video of another artist, but you had to go through the nettles and you got stung and so on. But this process of doing that installation, for example, that you kind of drive out to the middle of Estonia and start picking up nettles, there's no profit in it in that sense, like monetary value. There's other kind of missions there, and this kind of, and there's loads more of this kind of examples that you are doing something, and if you would step aside and try to analyze what you are doing, try to take that out of context, then it's kind of absurd. It's something that's kind of captivating here.
Kuidas me kaasaegse kunstiskeene põhineb orjatööl. Ma ei ole sellega üldse rahul ja mul see üldse ei meeldi, aga ma julgen seda välja öelda. Ehk siis see on see, et tule tee mulle assistenti siin ilma ja saad kogemust, me anname kogemust. Me ei andnud kogemust, me andsime tudengitele kuulust ja lõpuks 2 aasta jooksul, see oli siis see kõige vingem aeg üldse EKA-s, me andsime neile koha pidutsemiseks, see oli nende koht. Meil tõepoolest 1 aasta korraldati juba nagu, kuidas mida professionaalse tasandil, nagu rockiklubi või nagu mingisugune dance hall või mida iganes. Absoluutsed iga nädalavahetusel ja mitu tükki ja me olime sellel talvel Tallinnas ainukene koht. Ja pärast seda talve iga Tallinna taksojuht teadis, kus on EKKM. No see on tegelikult teada vana asi, eks ole, no ükskõik mis sa ei tee, eks ole, on see ooper või on see muuseum või galerii või pitsaputka, eks ole. Kõige parem asi populaarsust või siis nagu ennast kehtestada on korralda üks korralik nagu üritus muusika ja jookidega ja las politsei tuleb vähemalt 2 korda veel, siis on nagu ka.
A lot of people say nightlife isn't cultural. Nightly culture isn't culture. So I still, until this day, I haven't heard a plausible explanation about that ideology. Well, the main focus of nightlife has been music, dancing. I would say relaxing, because it relaxes you, well, every individual differently. As someone said that the best parties are on the other side of the railroad. It's a good saying. Generally, being on the other side of the railroad is being a bit more close to the people. Take Old Town for an example. How the venues are built in there, they're there to just sell you something. Sell you booze, mostly. Sell you the pretty looks of people, which is, I from the young age got the idea that this seems fake, as like horribly fake to me, and I don't believe these people. I want to go somewhere where I believe the people talking to me.
I think I was 17 or 18 and I came to a party here, and then I didn't know it's a museum, and then after that, maybe almost like a half a year later, someone was having a birthday party here, and then it was mentioned that it's not just EKKM but Eesti Kaasaegse Kunstimuuseum. But that was maybe in 2010, 2009, something like that.
EKKM Cafe then was the organization organizing the nightly events, and I was managing that side. I really love fresh visions. Extremely, I love the vision of young people, because it's the mind is so disfigured at times, and it's so fun to listen to those ideas and make them happen. EKKM was the exception. I think what stood out the most in EKKM was, I would say, the punk. You need to make something out of nothing and then upgrade it time to time, from time to time. In the cultural club Uuslaine, we take a similar approach. There needs to be so much variety in 1 week. It can't be the same week all over again until infinity. It needs to evolve.
Nüüd mis puudutab seda pidunduse värki, eks ole, siis mul on natuke isiklikult kahju, et seda on raskem korraldada. Selles võib-olla ka tühjuses ja milleski sellises lagunevas on mingisugust melanhoolset aspekti, eks ole, mida järjest korrastuvas kesklinnas enam ei eksisteeri, eks.
I think it kind of slowly diminished. I mean, it didn't come to a close like, this is the last party at EKKM or something like that. Semi-luxury apartment building that was built next to us that's opened 2 years ago, or the first people moved in 2 years ago, I think. And they kind of, from then on, started calling police for every party we had here. It basically started in the summer of 2019 when we got the information that there will be an audit. Then the auditors came, had a look. We all were on holiday. We had like 1 day notice in a way. In the end of November, we got news that our lease for the building has been terminated and we have to move out. But before that, we actually saw the audit as well, like when it was still unofficial and it didn't look that dramatic. But then the city kind of over-interpreted the audit, to some extent. And then we didn't have any other choice. Halt our activities and go to media in a way for help, because it was clearly over-interpreting the situation, and what was the actual threats there could be easily maintained by us. By Christmas we got a deal, an extension, that if we can, with our own means, take care of all the hazards that were mentioned in the audit, then we get another agreement and we can continue at least for 2 years. And during that 2 years, we still have to work towards getting the building fully renovated. But because all that went into media, then the journalists were constantly asking for updates, both from the ministry, from the city, from us. So in that situation, also the ministry said that they will support the renovation of the building, with at least half. That's our kind of current situation with the renovations.
The plan is, of course, now that we are working for 2 years to get funding to renovate the place, keep it here. It's really rooted itself here, even though everything around it has changed. EKKM has maintained its identity here, so I hope that does continue.
see tekkelugu oli vastandamine, see ei olnud vastandamine, see oli pigem kriitika, eks. Kuna ta tekkis mingisuguse funktsiooni täitmiseks, siis see funktsioon võib-olla on muutunud, et seda pole enam vaja. Et siis on 2 võimalust, kas muuta oma funktsiooni, mida teha, eks, või siis mitte teha või lihtsalt kulgeda edasi, vaadata, mis saab. Hea, kui mõni põhimõte jääb, mõni. Et siis on ka juba suur asi, sest üldiselt see kipub kõik ikkagi kuidagi sumbuma, normaliseeruma, aga siiamaani ei ole Nickelback siin esinenud.
EKKM will definitely be in my heart for my entire life. Yeah, my hopes are that EKKM will definitely continue the path that it took.
I've never tried to see too much into the future. And I mean, this has been also, I guess, part of the existence, that you don't really think that far ahead. Or you can plan, but it never goes by plan, because there's no guarantees. Because the lease agreement that was terminated was actually a 1-month agreement made in 2010 that when it expired became an agreement without date. So it was just a random event agreement made with the city in 2010 that lasted for 9 years. So for that 9 years there was this constant kind of threat of 3-month notice. The fun aspect has always been the key here as well, because I mean none of us are here for the salary, so